Shanker Singham is from the Legatum Institute. He told me he fears the UK could go into negotiations with the wrong attitude.
The rules that we've all agreed in the WTO are that your rules on sanitary and phytosanitary measures should be based on sound science and should not be more trade restrictive than necessary in order to satisfy those scientific objectives. And we have an organisation in the world, Codex Alimentarius, which is the global food standard organisation, populated by scientists and others, whose job is to determine what is safe and what is not safe. If our scientists, for example, believe that there are dangers and problems with some of these products, then it would be up to us to make that case in global institutions. The problem with what the EU has done and the precautionary principle and the way they interpret it is that by coming up with their own standards, and in many areas they come up with standards that their own scientists don't believe are actually problematic.
Well, there's always debate, isn't there?
Well, for example, on the famous chlorinated chicken example, Europe's own scientists have said that actually there are two different kinds of disinfectants and they are safe in terms of, and the European Union has still not put them on the positive list that you have to put them on in order for those products to be imported. Why? Because one can make an argument, and many countries around the world do, that the European Union is protecting its own industry.
So you're thinking the reason for doing that is actually rather different than just safety?
Well, this is the problem with this whole area, because it's a very laudable reason, obviously, to have regulation to protect people's health and safety, and it's a very emotive issue because the food, this is stuff we're putting into our bodies. But too often, these are used as excuses for protecting a particular industry at the expense of industries around the world. And when you do that, and when you distort the volume of trade, or you distort trade flows, you increase price for consumers and you lower choice. And it's the poorest in society that pay the price for this, because they're the ones for whom that bit of the food bill or clothing bill, or whatever it happens to be, is a bigger part of their overall weekly expenses.
I think the concern, though, for farmers here is that if there are cheaper imports coming in, they'll be undermined. They will not be on a level playing field.
That is a very important point. And the job of the government is to create a regulatory environment where farmers can actually farm. That's what we've got to do. We've got to create a level playing field for competition. The way to do that is to determine a standard that is the least trade restrictive, consistent with your regulatory goals.
So do you think there's a possibility that we might not be able to reach deals because of restrictions then, which we're already under within EU regulations, and those might carry on after Brexit?
Well, this is the threshold question. And it's not just about trade deals with countries, it's about being able to operate decisively in the WTO. It's about improving our own unilateral environment as well. But none of those things are going to be possible if we don't have control of our tariff schedules and we don't have control of our regulatory system. Having control of our regulatory system does not mean we have to change everything. It simply means we have to have the ability to change things, and then we negotiate, and it's a process. You determine what you're prepared to change, and there may be things that we're not prepared to change. One thinks of something like animal welfare. If a country came to us and said, in order to get a trade deal, you have to lower your animal welfare standards, we're likely not to do that deal.